I first noticed something off when my bottle of top-shelf bourbon started vanishing faster than usual. I'd bought it as a rare treat for myself, 84 bucks a bottle. Normally, it would last me a month. Easy. But this time, it was half gone in less than 2 weeks, and I hadn't had more than 2 pours. Dana didn't touch hard liquor, said it gave her migraines. And Kyle? He was away at college. So, where the hell was it going? I asked Dana about it one morning at breakfast, casually. She didn't even look up from her phone, just muttered, "Maybe you've been drinking more than you thought." Something about her answer didn't sit right. It wasn't just the words. It was how she said it, like she didn't even care, like it didn't matter. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong, something that didn't add up, and I wasn't about to let it slide. A few days later, I came home early from work, and something hit me as soon as I walked in. It wasn't the usual quiet of the house. There was a scent in the air, something familiar, but off. Cologne. Not mine. I froze, standing in the hallway, trying to place it. It wasn't overpowering, but it was there, hanging in the air like an uninvited guest. I walked toward the guest bathroom, and the door was cracked open just enough to notice. A used towel was thrown over the door, not neatly folded like I usually did, but in a hurry, like someone had just grabbed it and tossed it aside. I couldn't shake the unease creeping up my spine. I started looking around more closely. My razor had been moved. It wasn't exactly out of place, but I noticed it. The hot water heater was running more often too. I hadn't even thought about it before, but now it was like a constant hum in the background. And then there was Dana. On the weekends, when she'd never bothered with makeup before, she started wearing it. Light stuff, but enough that it felt different. I'd mention it, maybe tease her a little, but she'd just shrug it off, like it was nothing. I needed to talk to someone, so I met Greg at the bar later that week. We'd been friends for years, and I trusted him. I told him what was going on, all the little things I'd noticed, the odd smells, the changes in Dana. He took a long pull from his beer, then just stared at me for a second, like he was trying to read me. "You sure it's not your imagination?" he asked. I wanted to punch him right then, but I knew he was just trying to be a good buddy. But I knew it wasn't my imagination. Something was happening. I wasn't blind. I could feel it. "I'm not crazy, Greg. She's different." He just gave me that look, the one that said he didn't want to get dragged into whatever this was. Dana had started treating me like a roommate. She wasn't cold or cruel, but she was distant, polite, pleasant, and that was it. It wasn't the warmth I remembered, the easy conversations, the touch that didn't feel like a chore. The more I looked around, the more the house didn't feel like mine. It was like I was living in someone else's life. I hated how easily I'd let it happen, how I'd let the little things pile up without saying anything, without pushing back. I wasn't stupid. I knew something was wrong. I just couldn't prove it yet, and it pissed me off. The bourbon wasn't the only thing disappearing. My son Kyle's expensive cologne, the one he'd given me last Christmas, was gone too. I hadn't used it in a while, but it should have been there. I'd looked for it a few times, even in places I wouldn't normally keep it. It wasn't. I was working from home one afternoon when I heard the back door creak open, followed by soft footsteps upstairs. I froze in the kitchen, staring at the door like it was about to open by itself. It wasn't Dana. She was supposed to be at the gym. She'd told me so. That morning, my mind raced. Who the hell was walking around in my house? I stayed still, listening. Whoever it was, they didn't seem in a hurry. I couldn't make out what they were doing, but I heard the soft shuffle of footsteps heading upstairs. My heart started to pound. I needed to know. I crept up the stairs as quietly as I could. The hallway was empty. The bathroom door to the master bedroom was shut, but I could hear water running. I knocked softly, even though I already knew it wasn't Dana. No answer. I waited a few beats before I opened the door. Empty. But the shower was on, and the towel hanging on the rack was wet. I didn't know what to do with that. It felt like a punch in the gut. The room was too quiet, too still, and it smelled like shampoo. It wasn't right. That night, I couldn't let it go. I confronted Dana after dinner. "You want to tell me who's been using my cologne?" I asked, my voice low but sharp. She looked up from her phone, her face going tight. "What are you talking about?" "My cologne. The stuff Kyle gave me last year." She shrugged like it didn't matter. "I don't know. Maybe you used it and forgot." I knew she was lying. That wasn't how it worked. "Who else would be in our bathroom, Dana? I know Kyle hasn't been home in weeks." She shifted, her eyes darting to the side. "Maybe Kyle came home and you didn't notice. Kyle hadn't been home in 3 weeks. She knew that. I knew that. And the way she said it, it felt like she was trying to push me off track. Like it wasn't a big deal, but I wasn't buying it. "I'm not stupid," I said, my voice getting colder. "I've seen the signs, the towel in the guest bathroom, the razor in the wrong place. I know you're not the one using my stuff. So, who is?" Her face flushed. "You're overreacting." I wanted to scream, but I didn't. Instead, I just nodded slowly, as if the pieces were starting to fit together. The puzzle wasn't complete yet, but it was getting there. The way she avoided my eyes, the way she acted like nothing was wrong. I wasn't imagining it. I knew I needed more, but I was starting to feel like I didn't need her to admit anything anymore. I was going to find out the truth, whether she liked it or not. That weekend, while Dana went out shopping with friends, I set up a motion-activated camera in the hallway near the master bedroom. I knew it was risky. Hell, I knew it was a violation of trust. But at that point, I didn't care. I had to know. I had to see who was walking through my house when I wasn't there. 2 days later, I got the alert at work. My phone buzzed with the notification. I dropped what I was doing and pulled it up, heart already thumping in my chest. The feed loaded, and there he was. Tall guy, wearing gym clothes, walking straight into my bedroom like he owned the place. He had a gym bag slung over his shoulder. I sat back in my chair, stunned, not sure if I was seeing what I thought I was seeing. The guy walked into my bathroom. I could hear the water running, and then, sure enough, he came out, towel wrapped around his waist, looking completely at home. He used my shower like it was no big deal, then walked back into the bedroom and grabbed a bottle of my cologne off the dresser. My cologne. He spritzed it on, didn't even hesitate. I could feel my hands shaking as I gripped the phone. I didn't know whether to feel like a fool or furious. He had no right to be there, none. And yet, there he was, acting like it was nothing. Then he did something I didn't expect. I watched him text someone, casually like he wasn't violating every boundary I had. 10 minutes later, the door opened and Dana walked in. She smiled at him, and without a word, he stood up and kissed her. Like it was the most normal thing in the world. I could feel my stomach twist into knots. She didn't even notice the camera. Then, as if the sight wasn't enough, Dana reached into the drawer on my nightstand, the one with the bourbon. She pulled out a glass, filled it, and handed it to him. She gave him my bourbon. I damn near dropped my phone. I sat there for a second, staring at the screen, trying to process what I was seeing. My mind was racing. Everything in me wanted to lash out. But I stayed still, trying to keep my cool. It was too much. It was all right there. Proof. Real proof. I couldn't bring myself to watch anymore. I swiped off the feed, my hand still shaking. I felt like the floor had just dropped out from under me. I'd known something was off, but seeing it, watching it, it made it all too real. It wasn't a theory anymore. It wasn't my imagination. Dana was cheating on me, right in my house. And worse, she'd been letting him help himself to everything. My space, my stuff, my life. I knew I couldn't confront her just yet. I needed more. But I also knew the moment I saw that guy walk into my house, everything had changed. The man I was, the man I thought I was, had been left behind. That night, I ordered 2 more small motion cameras and placed one in the master bedroom and another in the bathroom. I made sure both blended in and looked like normal fixtures. I didn't say a word. I played it cool, acted normal, even kissed Dana goodnight, like everything was fine, like nothing had changed. But inside, I was already making a plan. Every second of the day, I was working it out in my head. It wasn't going to be sloppy. I wasn't going to let her see me fall apart. Not yet. First thing the next morning, I called my buddy Roger. He was an attorney, the kind who didn't ask questions unless you paid him. I didn't have to explain much. He told me to get all the paperwork together. Financials, phone records, anything that could prove a pattern. So that's what I did. I spent the next few days pulling everything I could, downloading statements, digging through old emails. I even transferred key files to a private backup drive, just in case. I wasn't taking any chances. Then I set up a fake dentist appointment. It wasn't hard to make up an excuse. Dana didn't question me. She was too caught up in her own world. I told her I'd be gone for 3 hours, said I'd grab lunch after. She barely even looked up from her phone when I left. I was gone for 3 hours, but it felt like a lifetime. The cameras had been rolling the whole time. I sat in the parking lot of a diner, watching the feed on my phone, waiting for him to show up. And sure enough, like clockwork, Mr. Jimbag walked through the door at 12:45 p.m. This time, he was wearing my robe, the one I always used after a shower, the one with the faded logo on the back. He looked so damn comfortable in it, like he'd been wearing it every day for years. The sight of him made my stomach churn, but I didn't feel rage. Not yet. I felt cold, focused, like a man gearing up for a clean shot. I watched him walk into my bedroom like it was his own damn space. He dropped his gym bag by the bed, pulled out a book, and stretched out across the sheets. It was too much. I kept my eyes on the screen, biting down on the inside of my cheek, forcing myself to stay calm. I wasn't going to lose control. Not yet. I didn't know how many times I'd seen him at that point. In my house, using my things, like everything was his. It was all a game to him, probably. But for me, it wasn't a game anymore. It was real, and I wasn't going to let it slip through my fingers. I sat there, staring at my phone, watching the feed as he lounged in my bed, texting someone else, probably Dana. I knew he was waiting for her, just like last time, and I was ready. This was the moment I'd been waiting for, the last piece of the puzzle, the man in my robe, in my bed, sipping on my bourbon, and Dana wasn't even going to see it coming. On Saturday, while Dana was out, I went to the liquor store and picked up a matching bottle of bourbon. Same label, same size, all of it identical to the one I'd had before. I wasn't about to leave anything to chance. After I got home, I drained half the bottle and replaced it with a harmless but extremely potent laxative. No taste, no smell, just enough to make the next visit to my house unforgettable. I made sure it was the perfect setup. After all, I'd seen enough of Mr. Jimbag to know his routine. I even put a fresh cigar in the humidor, knowing he liked to light one up after his workouts. I figured it would be the cherry on top. Let him think it was all just another normal visit. The plan was simple. Get him comfortable, let him drink my bourbon, smoke my cigar, maybe even take a shower. Then, when the laxative kicked in, he'd be the one feeling the heat. Dana would have no idea what was happening. She'd think he was just hanging out like usual, but I'd know. Sunday morning, I told Dana I was heading up to Greg's cabin for the day. She didn't ask any questions, just nodded. She had her own things to do. It was the perfect cover. I grabbed my bag, kissed her on the cheek, and left. I didn't actually go to Greg's cabin, though. I parked around the corner from my house, hidden behind a row of trees, and watched the camera feed on my laptop like a hawk. Every movement in the house felt amplified. The feed blinked on, and I waited. I couldn't even focus on anything else. My whole world was that little screen, watching and waiting for him to show up. I knew the time. I'd seen the pattern enough. He was always punctual. Sure enough, around 12:45, I saw him on the camera feed, walking toward my front door, gym bag in hand. He didn't even hesitate, just walked straight in, like it was his own place. I sat back in the car, my fingers gripping the wheel. My heartbeat was steady, like I was running on autopilot. This wasn't about rage anymore. It wasn't about anger. It was about control. I watched as he moved through the house, the way he knew exactly where everything was. He grabbed a bottle of bourbon without even checking the label. I could almost hear the sound of the glass against the wood as he poured himself a drink. That feeling, the knowledge that he was in my house, using my things, just like he had every other time, was enough to make me smile. The cameras didn't lie. He pulled out a cigar from the humidor and lit it, taking his sweet time. I could almost smell it, the thick smoke curling through the air, filling up my house. I waited. Everything was in motion now. He'd drink, he'd sit, he'd smoke. And when the time came, when that laxative took its toll, he wouldn't know what hit him. And Dana, she'd never suspect a thing. The more I watched, the more I felt this cold, detached sense of satisfaction. It wasn't revenge I was after. No, this was just a reminder that I still had control, that despite everything she'd done, I wasn't powerless. And when this was over, I'd have everything I needed to finish what I'd started. 30 minutes later, the bathroom camera went wild. I watched, heart pounding, as the guy ran in and out, looking like he was about to collapse. He was pale, his movements jerky. Then again, he ran back in, this time doubled over, sweating like he'd just run a marathon. I could almost hear the panic in his breathing. It was like watching someone slow motion crash, and I couldn't help but feel a strange sense of satisfaction. This wasn't my problem anymore. This was his. The feed cut out. The little red light that had been blinking disappeared, and I knew immediately what had happened. He'd yanked the plug on the camera. I didn't hesitate. I started the car and drove straight to the house. I didn't care if they were in the middle of whatever it was they were doing. I was done. I wasn't going to let them drag me through this mess any longer. I parked in the driveway and walked up to the front door like I owned the place. Because I did. My heart was steady, my steps calm. No more games, no more wondering. I was done being the guy left out of his own life. I pushed open the door without knocking. I'd done everything I needed to do. No more waiting, no more second guessing. The door swung open and I heard a muffled sound from upstairs. They didn't know I was there yet. I took the stairs 2 at a time and walked straight into the master bathroom. There he was, leaning against the sink, red-faced, drenched in sweat. His gym bag was on the floor, his shoes off, but he wasn't looking at me. He was too busy trying to catch his breath. Dana was standing in the doorway, looking pale, like she'd seen a ghost. Her hand was on the frame, like she was frozen in place. When she saw me, her eyes went wide, and for a second, it felt like time stopped. "Clean out your crap," I said, my voice calm, almost cold. "Both of you. I'll be in touch through my lawyer." The words hung in the air like a verdict. Dana's lips trembled, but she didn't speak. Jim Guy just stood there, his hands on his knees, gasping for air, like he couldn't believe I was standing there. I didn't stay. I didn't need to. I had nothing left to say to either of them. My mind was already 2 steps ahead, thinking about the next move, about how this would play out, about the legal steps I needed to take to make sure I walked away with everything. They could keep each other for all I cared. As I turned to leave, Dana finally spoke. "You don't understand," but I didn't stop. I was already out the door, heading for the car. I wasn't listening to her excuses anymore. Not after everything, not after seeing it with my own eyes. I drove away with a strange calmness settling over me, like the world had finally stopped spinning out of control. I had what I needed. Now it was time to end this. And I was ready. I filed for divorce Monday morning. By noon, I was sitting across from my lawyer, watching him flip through all the documents I'd gathered. The financials, the phone records, the footage. Everything. He didn't say much, just nodded and made a few notes. But I could tell he knew this wasn't going to be a fight. Dana tried everything to stop it. She called me, texted me, begged me. She even showed up at my office. She was desperate, but I didn't flinch. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't give her a chance to spin her lies or play the victim. I didn't have time for that. I'd already seen the truth. She cried. She asked for forgiveness. I let her talk for a while, but when she stopped, I just looked at her. "It's over," I said, and left her standing there, caught in her own mess. The first few days were the hardest. Not because I felt bad, but because it was like the ground was shifting beneath me. I had to remind myself that I was doing the right thing. But when the papers were signed and I had everything sorted, I felt something I hadn't in a long time. Relief. Dana moved in with Jim Guy. I didn't care. It wasn't my problem anymore. But I heard through the grapevine that it didn't last more than a month. She'd been chasing a fantasy, but reality has a way of crashing down hard. I changed the locks the next weekend. I didn't care if she still had clothes in the closet or anything else. It wasn't hers anymore. I gutted the master bath, tore out the old tiles, the mirrors, and the fixtures. Anything that reminded me of her. I even took a welding class. Didn't tell anyone, not even Greg. It felt good to learn something new, to use my hands for something that didn't involve paperwork or waiting for text messages. I wasn't trying to fix anything. I was just building, just being. It felt like reclaiming something that was mine, like I was putting my life back together, one solid piece at a time. For the first time in years, I sleep like a damn rock. No more staring at the ceiling, wondering what was really happening when I wasn't around. No more feeling like I was invisible in my own home. I don't miss the bourbon. I don't miss the late nights waiting for a confession that would never come. What I miss, what I've missed all along, is being respected. And now, I've got that back. It's been a year since I kicked her out. I don't think about her much anymore. When I do, it's like remembering a weird dream. Fuzzy, distant, something that doesn't quite feel like it happened to me. I don't recognize that guy I used to be, and I'm not sure I want to. I got a new bottle of that bourbon the other week. The real one, not the special mix. I poured a glass, and for the first time in a long while, I didn't feel the need to rush it. I sat on my porch, the last bit of sunlight slipping behind the pines, and let the cool air wash over me. I thought about how stupid I felt back then, how blind. But here's the truth. Getting burned once doesn't make you weak. Staying with the match does. And I didn't stay. I walked away, and I never looked back. The silence was different now, and the house felt like mine again. No more missing razors, no more disappearing bourbon, no more wondering what was real. Just peace. Dana texted me last month. She wanted to talk. Something about needing closure, or maybe trying to fix what she'd broken. I read the message, let it sit there for a minute, then I deleted it. I didn't answer. Some things don't deserve a second pour. I raised my glass, took a long sip, and let the warmth spread through me. That drink, it was the best I've had in my life. No regrets, no second guessing, just me, sitting there, finally at peace.